is mine. Okay. So first graders are talking about the life cycle of a plant. And so we're gonna read about that. So hopefully we might do a couple books. First we're gonna do the bean life cycle. And then life cycle is a bean. And we talked about how this book is a nonfiction book. It's nonfiction, which means that it is not make believe, that is not made up, it's not false, it is 100% true. Okay, so it gives us real information. So life cycle of a bean, and it has what's called a table of contents, which means if I wanted to go through and find something specific, like if I wanted to know simply about pickling beans, I would go to page 24. Okay, so that's called a table of contents, and that's kind of how I would use it. Okay, or if I lost my page and I said, oh, you know what, I was learning about beans when they're fully grown, I would go to page 22. Okay, when you're looking at a nonfiction book especially, they might have words that are bolded. Those not only mean those words are important, but oftentimes it means that they provide a way to look up those words in the glossary. Glossary, which is like a little dictionary at the end of the story, and it shows you what those words mean. Okay, so it's pretty cool. So beans are seeds that grow in pods. We eat many kinds of beans, including
like green beans,
kidney beans, black-eyed peas, which are a kind of bean, and fava beans. These are fava beans. This book shows what happened to a fava bean when it's planted. Okay, so the big green ones are fava beans.
Fava?
Fava. F-A-V-A, fava. Like lava, but with an F. Seeds, and this says days 1 to 7. And if you see, and we talked about this yesterday, when you, and those of you who've made a garden outside, is you dig a bit, you don't just dig the hole individually for each seed. You dig like a row, and you plant each seed down that row, and then you cover it all up. Okay? The bean seed is planted in the soil with other bean seeds. The soil is watered, and the bean begins to grow. And what's kind of cool, too, is it has the life cycle right along the bottom. Day 1, 1 week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 20 weeks. It gives us additional information in that picture at the bottom. And then I can see exactly what they mean on how to plant it. First, a root grows. It pushes through the bean seed and grows down into the soil. It grows longer and longer. And there's got a little caption here that's pointing and shows me what the root is. That's a little caption in the picture that tells me exactly what that is talking about. Whoa. Sprouting. 2 to 3 weeks. Now the bean is sprouting. A shoot starts to grow up. So that's the shoot, is the little green part. And I could even go and look that up in the glossary and say, what the heck does a shoot mean? And I could say, oh, shoot, the first stem and leaves of a new plant. Oh, that makes more sense than if you were like, oh, shoot, right? Okay, the shoot of a plant is the first stems and leaves. The shoot starts to grow. The bean stem pushes up through the soil. At the end of the stem are tiny leaves. Oh, look, they are. The shoot pushed up through the soil. The stem straightens and the leaves begin to open. More roots are growing. All those coming off to the side are more roots. See these to me? Coming off to the side, those are more roots. Growing 3 to 10 weeks. The leaves open and turn dark green in the light. The leaves use sunlight, air, and water to make food for the plant to grow. Ooh, so right there, sunlight, air, and water. Water from the soil passes through the roots and goes to the stem, up to the leaves. The plant grows quickly. Flower buds begin to form. 1 week. A black fly lays her eggs under the stem of the leaves. These black flies have hatched from their eggs and are eating the leaves. Uh-oh, do you think that's good for the plant? Have those flies eaten the leaves? No, that's not very good for the plant. So then, if the plant's leaves become too damaged, the plant will die. Ladybugs eat the black flies and help save the plant. Ladybugs eat like the aphids and black flies to help save the plant. So gardeners actually love ladybugs, not only because they're beautiful little bugs, but because they help the plants. They eat the bugs that are on the bad bugs that get to the plants. The ladybugs eat them. So ladybugs are good bugs, especially to a gardener.
If you want to do my hand.
Oh, that's supposed to be lucky. Flowering, 12 weeks. Thick bunches of flowers open at the bottom of the leaves. The petals are black and white. In the center of each flower are tiny grains of pollen and a sweet juice called nectar. Insects come to drink the nectar. Pollination, 12 weeks. The bee crawls right into the flower. Look at that bee. Right into the flower. As it sips the nectar, grains of pollen collect on its hairy legs. At the same time, some of the pollen of another flower rubs off inside this one. This is called pollination. And so gardeners also love bees. Like not yellow jackets, because those guys are just yucky. But bees, we love bees because the bees come in and they have an important job of pollination. Okay, and so they help transport the pollen from one flower to the other. So this summer I was really sad because there was not a lot of bees in my garden. And so some things I had to pollinate myself. So I would have to break off flowers and then go and dust the other flowers with their pollen to make sure that I would get produce from my garden, that I would get the squash and pickles and watermelon that I was growing. Bean pods, 12 to 14 weeks. When a grain of pollen from one flower joins a seed inside another flower, it becomes a new bean seed. The flower dies and the bean swells. You can't walk around without your mask off. Gimme. The beans are protected inside a tough, thick pod. As the bean grows, the pod grows longer and heavier. These bean plants are growing many pods. Inside of the pod is soft and damp. Each bean is joined to the pod by a short stalk. The stalk brings food and water to the bean. So it's a little connector point for the beans to the pod. Fully grown, 20 weeks. When the beans are fully grown, the pods begin to turn black. The plant has done its job and the leaves begin to die. Some of the open pods fall to the ground and split open. Field mice like to eat the beans. Some of the beans will replant themselves. And if you're a gardener, a lot of times you want to plant like a variety of bean where you can pick all the beans and then they'll flower again and produce more beans. What, Miss Danny? Yeah, when the book is done. Picking beans from 20 to 24 weeks. Most beans are picked before they're fully grown. They are juicy to eat then. Not all the beans are eaten. As they dry, they turn hard and brown. These new seeds will be planted to grow new beans. A field of beans. Farmers plant beans in this huge field like this one. The pods are picked and most are sent to factories to be frozen or put in cans. The old plants will be cut up and covered with soil. As the plants rot, they will slowly break up and become part of the soil. And there's the life cycle right there. Seeds, roots, sprouting, growing, flowering, bean pods, picking beans. Fact file. In just 4 months, a fava bean grows from a seed to a plant as tall as an adult person. Whoa, I didn't know fava bean plants grew that tall. One fava bean plant can produce over 300 beans. In ancient Greece and Rome, rich people would not eat fava beans because they thought they would damage their sight. That's silly, huh? And glossary. Those are all the words that we could have looked up if we needed to. And then hold on. The back of this book also has more books to read. So it has suggestions if you want to read more books on the subject. And then it also has an index. So if I want to go everywhere that flowering is mentioned, I'm going to go to pages 11 and 14. If I want to go everywhere that they mention roots, I would go to pages 7, 9, and 11. All right, Jimmy, do you have a question? Can you wait a couple minutes, please? Then go. Jaya, do you have a question? Okay, your little raised hand button was pressed. All right, and then I thought we could kind of talk about this book as well. This is another book on plants. Plants, and there's some pictures of some beautiful flowers on the front and a bee. And we just learned the importance of a bee from the last book, huh? All right. There are many different kinds of plants all over the world. Some grow in rocky places. These plants grow near water. Some grow in woodlands. Some grow in jungles. These plants grow in the desert. Oh, and then it says, how do plants live? How do they grow? Most plants grow from seeds. The seed lies under the ground. When the sun shines, it warms the ground, and when the rain falls and soaks the soil, the seed begins to grow. Down grows a root, down into the soil. From the big roots, smaller roots grow. They help the plant take in water and minerals from the soil. Up grows a shoot towards the sun. Green leaves grow from the shoot. The seed has become a young plant, and this is a red companion plant. Does that look or sound familiar, like what we just read about how the fava bean grows? Yes, yes. So they start out the same, right? The seeds start out the same. They planted, they get wet and warm from the sun, and then they start growing the root first, and then the stem. A little sprout pops up. The young plant grows. It gets bigger and bigger. All day long, the leaves are busy making food for the plant. They need water and minerals from the soil and air to make food. Air is taken in through tiny holes in the leaves, the leaf, the stem. Water and minerals are taken from the soil and move up the roots and stem up the leaves. The leaves grow out towards the sun. The leaves and the sun work together, turning water and minerals from the soil and air all around into food. Whoa! The plant needs food to grow. Did you guys know that plants make their own food? That's pretty incredible. So they take minerals and water from the soil, and then and air from around, and then they have to have sunlight. And the leaves can make food for the plant. That's pretty cool. What?
So my mother is a heart and make it I think what you mean when you have your whole race catching up. It's like a little hand anyways.
Yes, okay.
So when I get at my house, I'm gonna learn how to have any keys.
Oh,
Like not water.
okay. All right. Shh, shh, shh. Okay. The buds on the plant open. Okay. Open into flowers. So when it's closed, it's called a bud. Second graders, I need you guys sitting in your seats because you're not paying attention and you're getting too close to each other. Okay, bud is when it's closed, and then when it's open, it's a flower. Flower. Oh, the flowers will make seeds. Bees buzz from one flower to another. They help the flower make seeds. Sometimes the wind helps flower make seeds too. The bee stops on one flower to look for food. It finds a sweet juice called nectar and yellow dust called pollen. Some of the pollen sticks to the bee's body. When the bee moves to another flower, some of the pollen falls off its body. The flower uses its pollen to make seeds. The wind helps these grasses make seeds. Grass pollen is so light the wind blows it from one plant to another. Oh my gosh, did we just read about that in the other book, the pollen? Yeah, so this is giving us additional information, and it's agreeing with what we just read. Cool. As the seeds on the plants grow, the flowers wither and die. Only the part holding the seeds is left. Slowly it grows and swells and becomes the fruit. So right here, this is like a blackberry plant or something. Soon the fruit is ripe and a hungry bird sees it, eats it, seeds and all. Later, the seeds fall to the ground in the bird droppings. So that's how those plants replant themselves. Is their seeds are inside the fruit. When birds eat them, the fruit gets transported somewhere else, and new plants can grow. That's kind of cool. Seeds can be carried to new places by animals. Burdock seeds have special hooks that catch on the fur of animals that they brush past. So a lot of like the weed seeds and the sticker type things like get stuck, or like cheatgrass or fox ears, like a lot of those types. That's how they get moved around, is by sticking to fur or people's clothes and stuff like that, or by wind. Dandelion seeds have their own little parachutes to carry them in the wind. Some seeds are scattered by wind. Waves from the sea wash these coconut seeds ashore. And some plants scatter their own seeds. When the seeds of the wood sorrel are ripe, pods burst, scattering the seeds. Some seeds may fall on rocks where they cannot grow. But this coconut seed has been washed onto the soil, where the sun will warm it and the rain will soak it, and it will grow into a new plant. The coconut seeds have its own store of food, which feed the growing plant until it has put down roots and sprouted shoots and leaves. Then it can make it its own food. Each kind of plant is special and grows in its own way. Some plants grow fast, others grow slowly. A daisy grows fast, but an oak tree takes years and years. Right? How many of you guys have planted like a tree and it's kind of small, and your parents are like, well, one day it will be big, but it's so hard to wait for it to get big because it takes a long, long time. Beech trees are big plants. There are many different kinds of beech trees, and some can grow over 100 feet tall. Look, that's a kind of tree. Poppies and buttercups are little plants, and they stay small and they grow very quickly. These are green plants, and some that are not green. This bracket fungus is a plant, but it is not green. It cannot make its own food. It feeds on the tree stem. So fungus are things like mushrooms, and they can't make their own food like the green plants. They have to eat like rotting things, like tree stumps, or like things in the soil that are really breaking down. These are plants. There are plants with flowers and some with no flowers at all. These are not flowering plants. The pine tree has cones, and inside the cones are seeds. Did you guys know there were seeds inside of pine cones? Yeah, most of the time when you find them on the ground, they've already kind of opened up and dropped their seeds. But there are seeds inside pine cones. Fungi and ferns make tiny spores that explode from the plant and land in a new location where they can grow. So spores are very, very teeny, teeny, tiny. They look like dust and they can just float through the air. That's pretty cool. Each kind of plant is grown in a special place. Some grow in hot, dry places. In this hot desert where there is little rain, when rain falls, these cacti take as much water as they can through their roots and store it in their stems. Then they can live for a long time without rain. And others grow in cold, windy places. Mountain plants are small, so the wind cannot blow them over. Moss, campion, and gentian. Some plants grow on land. Yellow iris. Most plants grow in soil. Their roots keep them firmly in place. Forget-me-nots, yellow iris. And some grow in water. Reeds, arrowhead. This duckweed floats on the water. That's pretty cool. That plant just floats along the water and its roots just kind of go into the water and it gets the nutrients that it needs. What, Miss Jaya?
I can't see you flip the page because your steeper froze.
I'm sorry, honey. Hello? All right, and Jay, you can always try to watch the video after I post it at the end of the day and see if they show up, if it shows up a little bit better then, okay? But I do post the videos at the end of the day on our Google Classroom. Sometimes plants live alone and sometimes they live with many other plants. Here's a jungle where many different plants live together. Each kind of plant is different, but nearly all the plants need food and water, air and sun. If a plant has these three things, it can feed and grow and make new plants. It can live. Whew. And once again, this book has an index, so I could go and look up a specific word or type of plant or something that was mentioned in the story, and I could find exactly where that was. Oh my goodness, that was awesome. You guys did so great. Let's take a stretch.